Hello everyone, my name is Orlando Castillo from CUNY BPL. In this video, I will show you how to configure the 4-channel analog logger with a pressure transducer to measure the water pressure of a piping system using HOBOware. The first step will be for you to open up HOBOware on your computer, then connect the analog logger to your computer using the USB mini cable. If you look at the lower right side of the HOBOware screen, you should see one device connected. On the top left of the HOBOware screen, click on Device and then click Launch. And the Launch Logger window will open up. At the top, start by giving the logger a name. This name should be indicative of what you are measuring. For example, if measuring the condenser water pressure of a chiller system, you can name the logger Chiller Number 1 CWP for condenser water pressure. The name should be meaningful and descriptive for everyone working on the project and should represent the system being measured. Underneath, please note the battery level. You should have received a logger at or around 100% battery. If not, please contact CUNY BPL to get a replacement logger. Or, if possible, switch out the batteries yourself. The logger uses 2 AAA batteries. Next step will be for you to adjust the sensor settings. Notice the 4 boxes. Check the boxes based on the number of transducers you will use. For example, if using 2 transducers, check boxes 1 and 2, which correspond to input channels 1 and 2. If using only 1 transducer, then check box 1 and uncheck all other boxes. To the right, there is a gray box. Left-click the box and a drop-down menu will appear with a list of quantities. Move your cursor to Adapter Cable and select Cable ADAP5 0 to 5 volts DC. Do this for the second input channel if you will use a second transducer. To the right, you will label the input channels to keep track of what each transducer will measure. For example, I will measure the supply pressure with the first transducer and the return pressure with the second transducer. Further to the right, you will see 3 buttons. Click the Scaling button and a new window will open called Data Assistance. Click on the Create button. Another window will open. Here you will input the settings for the pressure transducers. Notice at the top where it says Select Data Series and Raw Series, make sure the gray box is labeled as Number 1 DC Voltage, with the label name for the first input channel. In my demonstration, I labeled the first input channel as Supply Pressure. Change the scaled units to PSIG. Make sure the value 1 is set to 0 for raw and scaled. Make sure value 2 is set to 5 for raw and 500 for scaled. Finally, underneath where it says Resultant Series Name, add a name to the dataset. In my demonstration, I will set the name to Scaled Series CWS for Condenser Water Supply, since that is what I will measure with this pressure transducer. Then click Save. You will return to the Data Assistance window. If you are using a second transducer, click Create again, and the new window will appear. At the top, click on the drop-down menu and select Number 2 DC Voltage, which corresponds to the second transducer. In my demonstration, I had labeled the second transducer as Return Pressure. Change the scaled units to PSIG. Value 1 should be 0 for both raw and scaled, and value 2 should be 5 for raw and 500 for scaled. Then change the resultant series name. I named mine Scaled Series CWR for Condenser Water Return, since that is what I will measure with the second pressure transducer. Then click Save. Back in the Data Assistant window, you should have 2 series, one for each transducer. Click Done on the bottom right. Back in the Launch Logger window, verify the LCD units are set to PSI. Underneath, in the deployment section, set the logging interval to 1 hour. Set the logging mode to Statistics. A new window will open with several options. Check the average box and make sure the remaining boxes are unchecked. Set sampling every to 1 second. Then click OK. Next, set the Start Logging option to On Date Time and set the time for when the logger will begin to collect data. In this demonstration, it is 9:46 a.m. and HOBOware by default set the starting time to 10 a.m. So I'll move time forward by 2 hours, giving me enough time to complete this configuration process and install the logger and transducers on a piping system. If you are using multiple loggers, please set the exact same starting date and time for each of them, and set the time for the beginning of the hour. Next, set the Stop Logging options to When Memory Fills, and uncheck all other boxes. Finally, check the Turn LCD Off option to conserve battery, and then click Delayed Start on the bottom right. You have now configured your 4-channel analog logger with pressure transducers. If you are using multiple loggers, you will need to repeat this process for each of them. If for any reason you need to change the settings of a logger, simply click on Device at the top, then click Launch, and the Launch Logger window will open up again. The next step will be for you to install the pressure transducers on the piping system. For instructions on how to install the logger, please watch the next video titled How to Install the 4-Channel Analog Logger with Pressure Transducers. Thank you for watching.